Hey everyone, and welcome back to Joey's Retro Newscast. I do this weekly. We talk mostly about all of the best and most important news that has to do with retro handhelds and retro gaming, and sometimes we sprinkle some gaming news in it as well. As for this week, I'm filming this a little bit later than I usually do because I just got in the AYN Thor, and so all I've been wanting to do is play with this. But we have to do the newscast because there's going to be no newscast next week, unfortunately. I'm out of town. I'm traveling to go. I'm live on location for something, but we'll talk about that whenever I'm allowed to talk about that. Anyways, today we're going to talk a lot about Game Pass. We're going to talk a lot about some devices and some other news. So let's just jump right in. In today's edition of I Told You So, Eden, the Nintendo Switch emulator, was taken off of the Google Play Store. That would make it 2 weeks of it actually being on there and now being gone off of there. I haven't seen or found any information as to the reasons why it was removed, although most of us can probably guess as to why, but I don't think Google removed it because of that. So whatever reason, the emulator truly does not need to be on the Google Play Store, so hopefully they take this as a sign to maybe just not do that. Now, speaking of apps that are not on the Google Play Store, Nether SX2, the PS2 emulator on Android, has been updated to version 2.1 for Classic and the current version. Because remember, yes, there is still 2 versions of Nether SX2, despite my absolute hatred that there is 2 versions of it. Personally, I use Classic because it was the first one that got updated, and I just can't deal with going to the other one. The real reason there is 2 is because there are different game optimizations. Some games perform a little bit better on current, some games perform a little bit better on Classic. So it really depends. I don't have that game list, unfortunately. I just stick with Classic, and if it doesn't run well, I don't play it. Now, as far as updates go and what's in version 2.1, a lot of fixes for different games, lots of nerd stuff for fixes that go above even my head, and there's just improvements to performance and all of that. Long story short, you should update, but reminder, save states do not carry over across different versions, as well as across different devices. So if you're going to update, make sure you make in-game saves before you do so, or you are going to lose your save. For those of you that want to jump into PS2 emulation and you don't know how on Android, I have another SX2 guide. It goes over everything. You can check it out. On the complete opposite end, a new PS2 emulator called ARM SX2 is coming this month. This is going to be a straight port of PC SX2, and theoretically it should be the best performing PS2 emulator in the future, but I'm not too sure about right now. It could even be right now. I don't know. I haven't tested it, never played with it. I just know that it's going to be on ARM, and it's porting PCSX2, so it should be good. Everybody has been waiting for a PCSX2 port on Android, and so if this is it, then I'm excited for that. Version 1.0 will be released and open source this month, and I'll report on it when it does. Apple is apparently blocking updates to the Delta emulator on their store. Apparently, they want the developer to add in-app purchases worldwide before they allow them to update the emulator with bug fixes. If you are somebody who uses this emulator, you probably want to know about all this information and pay attention to the developer as to what to do next. Winlator got an update to 11.0 beta with a few updates, improved Steam compatibility, and so on. Winlator really took a hit with the malware stuff months ago, which is ironic because everybody went to GameHub instead, which knowingly has all of those problems and more. And well, this week, a user did some digging into GameHub just to see how bad it actually gets, and the answer is it gets really bad. I looked over the list of things that GameHub does and has access to in this list. Some of these things are being overblown by the original poster, but some of them are not so much. Some of them are actually legitimate concerns. Now, I think for most people, I'm assuming you all know the risks to do with GameHub, and you were probably installing it anyways because you heard game runs good. I don't care about my data, I will just install it. Who cares if anybody is spying on me? But it is important to know when things like this are happening. Now, I have talked about this a lot of times, but I am personally not going to be doing any GameHub content. I don't do any Winlator content for a variety of different reasons. Number one, the whole spyware thing I'm not interested in. Number two, I have no interest in Windows emulation. I would just play on my Windows PC or Windows device. And I understand that not a lot of people have that, so they only have ability to play on Android to play PC games, but it's still not something I'm interested in, so I don't do a lot of content on it. Sure, it would have been good to do it, though, for the last 2 weeks on views, because holy, a lot of those videos took off. But, I'm not interested. Now, one good thing for anybody that does have GameHub installed, if you ever go missing, tell your family to contact GameHub to find you. All right, so everybody saw this new front-end showcase this week called iiSU. It was everywhere. Every hour, somebody posted it to a Discord. Every hour, somebody else got mad that this was posted again. And it just kept going. And everybody got excited because it looks cool. And I will agree, it looks awesome. But it's important to remember this is a mock-up. None of this is real at the moment. There are developers, very talented developers, working on it, and it will be real at some form. Probably won't look exactly the same as it does in the video, but it will look good at some point in the future. But it is important to note right now it is a mock-up, so before you get all crazy, before you get your panties in a bunch, just remember this is the early part of it. And so if you want to wait for it to come out, you definitely can. That being said, we are so starved for front ends on Android that even mock-ups make everybody go crazy. So it's good to see another person jump into the ring here. I wish Daijisho was still around for updates and all of that. And I wish a lot of things, but there are some really good front ends in Android, but we could use more options. Question of the week. And I don't remember if I've ever asked this question before, but we're going to ask it. With the Pocket DS coming and the AYN Thor here, at least for me, what games are you excited to play on dual screen devices like this, if you are buying one? What DS or 3DS game are you excited to play? And I guess opposite to that, give me one DS game that I should play right at the start. I think you all know my preferences at this point if you've been watching me for a while. JRPGs, RPGs, all of that fun stuff. Let's see if we can come to a consensus in the comments. What is one game that you would suggest that I start with on the AYN Thor? But also, what game and games are you excited to play? It's not just about me. Now, most people saw the Anbernic RG DS leak video, and I'm putting this in air quotes because it's not real, but everybody went crazy about it. The video is not real. It's not by Anbernic. Somebody took what they thought what it would look like, and they made a video out of it, because why play games when you can make fake videos to get people excited about a device that doesn't exist? Now, Anbernic is actually making an RG DS. Well, I know it's not going to be called that. They're making a dual screen device. Definitely. It'll be compromised as Anbernic devices usually are, but they are making one. It will probably look similar to this because you can only make dual screen devices look a certain way. But don't go in looking at this entire video and dissecting it and being like, oh, this is where the D-pad is, all of that. Just ignore the whole thing. Wait for Anbernic to do a teaser and then their launch. There are so many other exciting devices and projects that you don't need to worry about this one that's fake right now. Now, a friendly reminder, Retroid is due for a handheld pretty soon. The Retroid Pocket 6, which we had confirmed way back earlier in the year during Qualcomm's event, should probably be coming out in the next month or two, I'm guessing. Either an announcement, a teaser, whatever. It'll be soon. This is right around the time where Retroid really does their announcements and pre-orders, all of that. So I don't know why I'm telling you this, more so to just wait, because if you are interested, if you are ready to buy a Retroid Pocket 5, maybe wait a little bit, because the 6 is coming. Probably won't be that much more expensive if I had to guess. I don't know any specs or anything, but they usually stick within the same price ranges, so it's an easy guess to make. Retroid Pocket Flip 2 is kind of discontinued at this point. It's not discontinued. It's kind of, the Thor really ate that lunch. For $20 more, you get a dual screen and better everything, so it's kind of there. But the RP5, if you want a Retroid Pocket 6, maybe just wait a few weeks and we'll see what happens. Now, on the opposite end with the Ayaneo Pocket DS, unfortunately, it looks like a lot of users are having problems with light bleed on it. Now, I first saw this in Retro Dodo's review. He had very bad pictures of light bleed, and There is no amount of money that I would pay and be happy with that amount of light bleed. It just isn't. I don't care who makes it. It's not an Ayaneo thing. If any other device that I had that amount of light bleed, that would be an instant cancel, instant removal, instant refund, all of it. Now, Ayaneo has responded to this. And basically what they were saying is that there's nothing that they can do about this. Even a replacement can't guarantee that it won't have light bleed. It seems to be just a design thing from them, or it's the panel, whatever it is. And so their suggestion is that you cancel the order. If this is something that you are worried about, cancel the order. Normally, I would blast a company for this kind of response. Absolutely blast them. However, it's not out yet. Hasn't shipped yet. They are telling you this. The company is telling you this ahead of time that you should cancel it if you are worried about light bleed because there's nothing they can do. So if you've ever wanted a sign about what to do about a pre-order, this is it. And I don't mean this isn't even me being negative about Ayaneo. They're doing the right thing here by telling you ahead of time. But like, anybody who gets this after this point and complains about light bleed, it's on you at this point. I am usually on the consumer's end. You guys know this. I've always been on the consumer's end. But when the company comes out and tells you straight up, we can't do anything about the light bleed, so cancel the order if that's important to you, it is now on you. No complaints about light bleed if you get this device. Zero, because it is on you at this point. Now, on the opposite end, I could sit here and yell about the fact that they probably should fix this instead of releasing the device. Like, why you are releasing a defective device, you have admitted it is a defective device. Why are you even shipping this out instead of fixing it? But I don't have the energy for that this week. I have a Thor to play with, so I'm going to play with that instead. But, I mean, for everybody else, yeah, this is what you need to know about the Ayaneo Pocket DS if you didn't know already. It is very important to know about this. I gotta be honest, this is quite a shame. I've been pretty positive on the Pocket DS from the pre-orders and all of that. This looks like a really good Ayaneo device. Then I saw Retro Dodo's review, and I would have, if I didn't cancel it a long time ago, I would have canceled after that review. This statement for sure, I would have canceled 100%. But I hope the second one, I hope the Pocket DS2 is a better showing from Ayaneo here. And that's not for me saying that the Thor is any way better or anything like that, but it is tough in this scenario where you have two competing devices coming out and you have one coming out with this as their headline and the other so far doesn't have anything like that. So that's where we stand right now with Pocket DS information. The OneXFly Apex is joining the list of handhelds that aren't really handhelds because they have no actual battery attached. They have announced the OneXFly Apex with the Ryzen Max Plus 395 processor, 8-inch, 120Hz VRR LCD screen, and so on. Apparently, this also has liquid cooling, which is interesting, but it does have an 85 watt-hour removable battery. Now, after seeing Frankenstein's monster that is the GPD Win 5, there is no part of me that wants any sort of removable battery in this way. I don't mean a removable battery where you open up the compartment and you take it out and you can replace it. I mean where it is just an afterthought put onto the back of it, where it looks like a big disaster, and there's no world where you can come in and say that that's comfortable. It is not comfortable. I've held devices where you put on heavy things on the back like that. It's not comfortable. So stop making these devices. These are not handhelds, whatever you want to call them. They're like thin clients at this point. They're not real handhelds, in my opinion. I would rather just get a mini PC and then like a portal and stream to it. Get the same experience, except better, because you can actually use the portal out on the go. You're not going to be using a Win 5 on the go when it looks like how it looks with the battery on the back. The OneXFly Apex is going to be even worse because it's 8 inches. It's massive. So yeah, I'm tired of these devices. Let's move on. We just finished voting on our games of the month, so it's a perfect time to come join the Discord. Kirby and the Amazing Mirror won for Game of the Month. It is a Game Boy Advance game. It is like a Metroidvania. It's very confusing. I really need a guide for that game because I have no idea what I'm doing, but it is very Metroid. So I'm not enjoying it as much as I should be. Our ROM hack of the month is Super Mario Land X. It is Super Mario Land, except new levels. There's 4 worlds, 3 levels in each, I think. I beat it. It was like an hour and a half. It was very quick. Very fun game. Our game of the season is Legend of Dragoon, or Expedition 33 if it released on PS1. If you have not played Legend of Dragoon, it's got a similar type of combat, but it's very fun. I remember playing it 20-something years ago. Probably 30 years ago now when I had my PS1 way back when because I had this game. So it's been fun to play it all over again because I've forgotten all about it. Come join the Discord, play some games. Now in other Xbox news, they have done another thing that is not very good. Xbox Game Pass pricing and features are changing again. First, Game Pass Core is being called Game Pass Essential. Same prices, but now it includes PC and cloud as well. 50 curated games list, up from 25, unlimited streaming of your own games, multiplayer, and so on. This tier got upgrades with no downgrades. It's fine. Then we have Game Pass Standard tier, which is now called Game Pass Premium. Once again, PC and cloud included now, streaming has been added, new Xbox games are added to this tier up to a year after launch, but no Call of Duty. Once again, it seems like upgrades without any downgrades for the same price. Then we get to the PC Game Pass, and the only change here is the addition of Ubisoft Classic games. Except now the price goes up from $12 to $16.50 for that privilege. I saw the list of games. It is not worth an extra $5 a month. But then the big one is Game Pass Ultimate, going from $20 to $30 a month. What do you get for that privilege of spending $10 more a month or $120 more a year? Well, 1440p streaming, which sure, if you have a handheld that can handle that, or a PC, that's awesome. Except they just released a handheld, or are about to release a handheld, that isn't even 4040p. So maybe they could have talked to each other about that one if they were going to do this. Oh, and once again, Ubisoft Classic games are added. And that's it. So are those two things worth $120 a year? No. I think you can buy all of the Ubisoft Classic games for $120 in a year. So no. Look, Xbox's decisions over the last few years have been baffling to me. Completely baffling. I would have lost my job if I was Phil Spencer doing these decisions. However, for some reason, he is still there making these types of decisions, getting the flack that he gets for all of these decisions. This is like the third price increase for Game Pass in like the last year, not mentioning the fact that they've increased the price of their consoles. Yeah, I get tariffs. I get all of that. But the problem is Xbox has no positive news to counteract all of the negative news. There is nothing that has happened in the last few years from Xbox that has been like, you know what? I'm excited about this, but yeah, okay, raise the prices, but I'm still excited about this. Like if you had a Sony console, you have a PlayStation 5, I have a PlayStation 5 Pro. It sucks. There's no games for the PlayStation 5 Pro right now. But I know Wolverine is coming. Ghost of Yotei just released. There's new Last of Us will probably come. Ratchet and Clank. Uncharted is in the back somewhere. There are God of War, the Spider-Man. There are games that I know are coming that I can look at my PS5 Pro and be like, okay, it sucks right now. I get it. Like the Switch 2 sucks right now, but games are coming. That's fine. I have an Xbox. I don't have that same experience with the Xbox. When you raise these prices, it forces me to go look at what I'm spending for Game Pass, what I am actually playing on Game Pass, and doing a mental calculation of, you know what? I can actually go buy these games for cheaper than a yearly sub. And I did these calculations. I'm not even American. I went on the Best Buy US website. $360 a year is the Game Pass price, right? $30 times 12, that's the price. I went and I added a bunch of games to my cart that released all of Xbox first-party studios games that released in 2025. And the answer is you could buy all of those games for the same price that you would spend on a Game Pass subscription for a year. Now, obviously, you get other benefits, the streaming, other games that are not just first-party studios, all of that. But the fact that I had to go and do this is not something you want people doing when you have a subscription service. You don't want them wondering if they are getting their value out of your service, because the moment you did this is exactly what people are doing. And that's why there's headlines of people canceling all over the place, because suddenly it is not worth it. Suddenly it's not the Game Pass that we were sold on years ago, where Here is Game Pass, where you can now play all of our games and more, and it is fairly cheap. It is actually worth you buying. At this price point, it's no longer worth it. Now for me, I took a look at the games I play on this service. The last year, the games that I played, Call of Duty, Expedition 33, and Doom: The Dark Ages. That's all I used it for. I could buy all those games and save some money on a Game Pass subscription. So that's exactly what I'll be doing. Unfortunately, mine expires at the end of December, so I have to wait a little bit longer. But there's no world by the time it'll probably be $50 a month by the time it hits that price point or that time. But there's no world where I renew a Game Pass subscription at this current price point and these current features. Not happening. This is a very ranty newscast. I am sorry. I'm going to add a little disclaimer at the front of the newscast so you can be aware in case you hate this. Newscast Q&A time. Send in your questions to newscast@joeysretrohandhelds.com, or there's a Discord channel on the Discord called Newscast Q&A. You can send them in through there. I apologize. There are some questions that came in that I have to push off until 2 weeks from now when the next newscast is. Just I ran out of time for this week getting all the newscasts done. So this question, first question, comes in from Liz. Do you think device makers should stop including copyrighted games? I don't really have a moral issue with it, but it seems really foolish in the long term since it degrades the plausible deniability of these being piracy machines. I understand that clueless newcomers to the hobby bring in the money, but this ain't worth jeopardizing the existence of the whole space. People need to learn how to set up things on their own. So, yes, absolutely. Maybe not in the way that you put it, but yes, I absolutely agree, and I've said it for years now. None of these handhelds should come with games. I know all of the reasons that people want them to come with games. None of them should, at all, ever. It devalues the hobby, it devalues the niche, it devalues everything. And it still baffles me that Amazon will sell these with pirated games on it. Amazon will sell 12 terabyte hard drives with pirated games on it. All of that completely baffles me, but there are negatives to do with this. For example, and I'm going to use an example here of Anbernic. Anbernic doesn't work with Qualcomm. Everybody else works with Qualcomm. Retroid, AYN, Ayaneo. They all show up in Qualcomm events and they get new Snapdragon processors. Guess who doesn't show up? Anbernic. Do you know what the one difference is between all of those and Anbernic? Pretty sure it's the pirated ROMs. Now, I am guessing here. I don't have the actual information, but if I had to look at it from Qualcomm's perspective, that would be the reason as to why I would not partner with Anbernic. When they include games like Stardew Valley, Celeste, Undertale, whatever, as ports in their systems, why would Qualcomm and Snapdragon promote that for them? Why would they give them access to their processors when Anbernic is out doing this? So, again, guesses on my part. Seems like a fairly easy guess to make. Anbernic probably can't work with Snapdragon or Qualcomm because of this. So that's a negative for Anbernic. But do they care? Probably not. They are bigger than all of those other companies combined. They sell a lot more than those companies do. So they're doing just fine, but that means that we are getting the worst version of a handheld with MediaTek processors and everything. So, yeah. Now, to go back to the whole pirated ROMs thing, the usual response to this is, well, what does it matter? You're going to put pirated ROMs on it anyways. Sure, but the onus is now on me. The responsibility is now on me as a consumer to do that. They are selling the device that could be used for many different reasons. You could be using it for Android games. You could be using it for streaming. You could be using it for a bunch of different legal reasons. When you include ROMs on there, it's not that anymore. You are now making a decision for the consumer that, yeah, I support the addition of pirated ROMs. And yes, I get it. All of us are going to be including our own ROMs that are most likely pirated on these devices. I get that. However, it is on us now. That is my decision to make, not Anbernic's, not Powkitty's, not whoever. So if somebody is including Celeste, Stardew Valley, other Silk Song, whatever, indie games on their device, I hate that. I hate that because I'm not going to do that. Sure, I might pirate or put on a ROM of Pokemon Blue, which you cannot buy anymore, but I can buy Silk Song, I can buy Stardew Valley, I can buy Celeste, and if I do that, I'm going to put them on with my own paid files, not your paid files that you pirated. Last question of the day comes in from Jeff. Hey Joey, what are your long-term thoughts on the Samsung Galaxy Fold 7? What are your thoughts on the Snapdragon 8 Elite and compatibility with emulators and games? So I absolutely love my Fold 7. I waited 7 generations for the Fold 7 to arrive. I kept an eye on it the entire time, and then this year I was like, I'm jumping in. This is what I need. Fold 7 has changed everything about the way that I use my phone, what I use it for, all of it. Not just the normal day-to-day stuff, opening it up and using the inside screen for multitasking, for manga, comics, for watching videos on one screen, Discord on the other, for one screen for a browser, Discord on the other, or whatever it is. I can't go back. I'm never going back to a normal phone. The Fold 7 it's beautiful. I love it. It's so good. Now, as far as gaming goes, I don't use my phone for that. I am lucky enough to get devices. I'm lucky enough to be able to afford devices. Plus, I don't like playing on my phone. The notifications, I don't like telescopic controllers. I don't like any of that. So it's not a good thing for me. However, I have my own devices for gaming. Now, that being said, I do know a lot about 8 Elite and compatibility for emulators and games. A lot that a lot of people are not aware of, I think. We have spoken about this before, but 8 Elite compatibility sucks. And most people are just pointing towards Switch and Winlator, GameHub, all of that. Sure, whatever. I don't care about any of those. My concerns are RetroArch. My concerns are all of the other emulators, where OpenGL currently does not work with an 8 Elite. You cannot load any cores with 8 Elite OpenGL like Nintendo 64 on RetroArch, which uses the Nupin 64 Plus Next core. Doesn't work. You can't play it there. You have to use the standalone N64 emulator. However, then there's also Beetle cores, Beetle Saturn, Beetle whatever. They use OpenGL. What do you think is broken there? Yeah, exactly. There are a lot more scenarios and cases, and I'm going to cover this whenever I get my Odin 3 in for review. But I don't think a lot of people know the extent of 8 Elite compatibility and just how bad it is right now. I think a lot of people are expecting the Odin 3 to magically fix all of this. It's not going to. It's going to be a problem. So that's why I've always been saying, just buy an Odin 2 Portal. Just skip all of this. That is everything this week. I apologize for the length of it, and I apologize for the ranting. There is no newscast next week, so I had to get in everything that I could in 1 week. And then we'll be back in 2 weeks when I'll be back and ready to go for another newscast. I'm just out of town, so there's nothing I can do about it. Don't forget to like and sub to help the newscast grow. It helps a lot. Trust me. Support me through YouTube membership if you like my stuff. And appreciate you all for watching. And that's all for me, Springfield, Illinois.